Melbourne, February 1992. A quiet Romanian accountant walks into a lottery office in Virginia, through his lawyers technically, and cashes a ticket worth $27 million. He didn't guess the numbers, he didn't get lucky. He bought every single combination the game could produce, every one, 7 million tickets. And this was already his 13th win. His name is Stefan Mandel, and the story of how one accountant, born broke in communist Romania, turned the world's most rigged game into his personal ATM 14 separate times, is the cleanest example of math beating the house that ever existed. No card counting, no edge sorting, no shuffle tracker working the pit, just a spreadsheet, an army of helpers, and a rule so obvious the lottery boards didn't notice until it was too late. Let me walk you through it. 1960s, Romania. Mandel is an accountant making the equivalent of $88 a month. He has a wife, 2 kids, and one goal: get out. Not through politics, not through smuggling, through numbers. He calls himself a weekend mathematician, and he spends years working on a single problem. Is there any lottery, anywhere on Earth, where the jackpot grows so big that buying every ticket becomes a guaranteed profit? The idea sounds insane, because it is, unless you actually run the arithmetic. And here's the thing. The arithmetic works. Take a lottery where you pick 6 numbers from 1 to 40. The total number of possible combinations is 3,838,380. That's a fixed, unmovable number. It doesn't care about your birthday or your lucky charm. If a ticket costs $1, buying every possible combination costs $3.8 million. Guaranteed jackpot. The only question is the jackpot bigger than the cost? And by how much? Mandel's rule was brutal and simple. The jackpot had to be at least 3 times the total cost of buying every combination. Not 2, 3. Because you still have to cover the lower tier prizes going to other players, the tax office, the printing, the helpers, and, most importantly, your investors, who don't like losing. His first attempt in Romania used an earlier system he called combinatorial condensation. He couldn't afford every ticket, so he built an algorithm that guaranteed he'd match at least 5 of the 6 winning numbers. He pooled money with friends, bought thousands of tickets on his math, and won. $19,000. After paying investors, he pocketed about $4,000, which in 1960s Romania was a fortune. He used that money to bribe the right officials and get his family out. Israel first, then Australia. And that's where the operation went industrial. In Australia, Mandel started small, legally registered a syndicate, attracted investors, hundreds of them eventually, who put in cash for a share of the winnings. Every time an Australian state lottery jackpot climbed past his 3 times threshold, the operation activated. Printers ran around the clock, spitting out millions of pre-filled tickets with every possible combination. Then his army, sometimes hundreds of people, fanned out across the country buying them, bundle by bundle, at authorized retailers. He won the Australian lottery 12 times this way. 12. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Australia caught on. They passed laws banning bulk ticket printing, banned syndicates from buying at multiple outlets. So Mandel did what any good mathematician does when the game changes. He found a new game. Virginia, 1992. The Virginia State Lottery had a peculiar setup. Pick 6 numbers from 1 to 44. That's just over 7 million combinations. Tickets were $1 each. And that February, the jackpot rolled over to roughly $27 million, with secondary prizes pushing the total prize pool past $30 million. 3 times the cost. Green light. Mandel raised about $2.5 million from investors, and this is the crazy part, pre-printed every one of the 7.1 million tickets in Australia, then shipped them physically to the United States. His team had cashier's checks pre-cut. They walked into grocery stores, gas stations, chain retailers, and handed over stacks of tickets and stacks of money. In 72 hours, they bought about 5 million of the 7 million combinations before time ran out. 5 million out of 7, meaning there was still a chance the winning ticket sat in the 2 million they didn't buy. He rolled the dice on partial coverage. And it landed. His ticket hit. $27 million, plus secondary prizes across thousands of smaller winning combinations he'd also purchased. The FBI investigated, The CIA looked at it. The IRS looked at it. Every agency with 3 letters looked at it. And every one of them arrived at the same conclusion: completely legal. He hadn't cheated. He hadn't hacked anything. He'd just read the rule book better than the people who wrote it. After that, lottery commissions around the world rewrote their rules. You can't buy in bulk from a single printer anymore. You can't hand-fill millions of slips. Most jurisdictions require tickets to be purchased individually at the terminal. That single Virginia win essentially killed the strategy for anyone who came after him. And look, if you're watching this thinking about your local scratchers, hear me out. The lesson isn't beat the lottery. The lesson is that every gambling product on Earth is a math problem in a costume. The house edge, the hold percentage, the RTP on a slot machine, those aren't mysteries. They're published numbers. Most players never look. Mandel looked. That's the whole difference. Quick aside, because people ask me this after every one of these stories, where do I play if I still play at all? Honestly, after years of watching how operators squeeze punters, I stick to licensed places I've personally vetted because payouts don't stall and I've never been jerked around on a withdrawal. The ones I actually use, I left in the description. Moving on. Because the other side of this coin, the human side, is uglier than the math. Mandel's investors didn't always get paid on time. There were lawsuits, bankruptcy filings in Israel in the 2000s, accusations from backers who felt shortchanged. He spent time in prison for an unrelated fraud case. The mastermind who beat the world's biggest gamble ended up hiding out on a beach in Vanuatu, reportedly broke, or close to it, depending on which interview you read. Which brings up the statistic every one of these stories eventually collides with. Roughly 70% of major lottery winners lose most of their money within a few years. Divorce, bad investments, family members with their hands out. In one documented case, a $20 million winner in the United States was murdered by his own sister-in-law over the estate. Winning the money is the easy part. Keeping it is the war. And here's the piece nobody talks about. The lotteries themselves employ full-time mathematicians now, actuaries, statisticians whose entire job is to spot the next Mandel before he buys his first ticket. Every game gets stress-tested for expected value anomalies, roll-down loopholes, syndicate vulnerabilities, printing exploits. The door Mandel walked through is welded shut, guarded, and watched by cameras that would make the eye in the sky at any Vegas pit look primitive. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. Was Stefan Mandel a genius who exposed a broken system? Or was he a parasite who ruined a harmless game for millions of ordinary players who just wanted to dream for $1? Because I've heard both takes, and honestly, I flip on it depending on the day. Tell me where you land in the comments. I read them. And if this kind of breakdown is what you come here for, you already know what to do. 14 wins, 1 rulebook, 1 accountant who refused to lose,